all the way to Melbourne for this appointment. Appropriate.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. What a beautiful office.
You gotta have lippy.
Aussies invented the term selfie. I think I'm having a hot flash, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop this off. The biggest challenge for me has been insomnia. And then the mood swings.
And your hormones are doing this all the time. You might be perimenopausal. You've got your bag of symptoms with you. Your hot flashes, your night sweats, your dry vaginas, and no libido.
Then I saw another fucking functional medicine doctor. All these different tests. There are literally thousands of dollars of tests.
Whether you're perimenopausal or not, if you don't have enough progesterone and there's not enough GABA, your resilience is down.
You gonna wave that thing around me and fix me?
People will go, what the fuck is what's going on with your bladder?
I have to pee all the time.
We address what is happening physically, but also the emotional side of that. Your head is just, it doesn't
Never stop.
Yeah. Lungs. What's happening here?
I'm vaping.
Right.
Okay, we are rolling out. My girls come to pick me up. It's time to ride. We've made it, here we are. Come all the way to Melbourne for this appointment. I bet she kicks ass. Appropriate.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Nice to meet you. What a beautiful office. Love this.
Can I put some lippy on?
Yeah.
You gotta have lippy.
Well, the Americans, we find this stuff so funny. Lippy, sunny. Oh, fun fact, did you know that Aussies invented the term selfie?
Selfie, did
Yeah,
we?
that's
I
you.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
Yeah, thank you. So I've been told. I think I'm having a hot flash, so I'm gonna go ahead and
now?
pop this off.
Right. How often does this happen?
I would say a couple of times a day. So I don't get like the massive sweats.
Yeah.
So many women don't even know what perimenopause is.
No. At any point in time, there's 75% of women over the age of 30 are going through some sort of perimenopause.
I've been clean and sober for 13 years and done enough emotional intelligence work and step work and stuff to recognize what's what. And then these feelings just come out of nowhere. And the biggest challenge for me has been insomnia.
Yeah.
And then the mood swings started progressing more in like 2019. And then 2020, you're like, well, what is it? Is it COVID? Is it perimenopause?
Is it lockdown?
Is it lockdown?
Yeah.
Is it Graves' disease? Because
Yeah.
like I told you, I have Graves' disease.
Yes.
I went to hormone replacement therapy clinic, which was recommended. And they put me on like a small dose of testosterone, which I didn't notice any increase or, no change. They said, don't touch estrogen until you're in menopause. They put me on progesterone. So anyways, the functional medicine doctor had me taking DHEA, pregnenolone, that one I can never spell. Then I saw another fucking functional medicine doctor. He went down the whole did you have the vaccine? That's a bioweapon from the University of North Carolina. I'm like, right on. So I'm totally fucked. Talking about testing all of this stuff. I might have Lyme's disease, it's mold, it's all these different tests. There are literally thousands of dollars of tests. And I just said, I'm not going that route. I did an AIP diet to try and fix my gut health. Did that for a few months. Didn't really notice a lot of changes. The last thing I'll mention is as far as steroid use. I've been up until 2015 was all natural, and then did my last physique show, and this coach I was working with, I was even injecting glutamine, whatever they give to horses.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I'm sure that didn't do me any fucking favors. Glutamine, Anavar, and Primobolan.
Okay.
8 months later that I had this incident with the cramps, definitely probably perimenopause.
Yeah. Peri starts in our mid-30s, right? But then ramps itself up in our 40s. And it's been likened to your second puberty, right? So there's a fantastic functional GP, she's a naturopath as well, Lara Brighton. She talks about it being like your second puberty. When we head into puberty, we start to produce estrogen first, and progesterone is slower to come. And so our brains are sort of going, what are these hormones? As a young girl, you haven't had any exposure to these hormones, and suddenly all of this estrogen is coming, right? Followed slowly by progesterone. So it's an estrogen dominance as a teenager. And that appears like emotional mood swings. You know, how moody are teenagers?
Right.
Right? And then in our reproductive years, estrogen and progesterone are doing this. Yeah, beautiful. Our brains are used to it. It's all good. And then when we hit peri, progesterone is the first hormone to drop. But our brains are now trying to go, oh, we don't have any hormone anymore, because our brains now have to adjust again to no hormones.
Right.
Progesterone stimulates Gaba receptors. Gaba is our hormone of calm.
That's the go to fuck to sleep one.
So serotonin is our go to fuck to sleep.
Oh.
One. It's anti-anxiety, right? So it calms shit down. Progesterone stimulating the Gaba receptors calms everything down. Whether you're perimenopausal or not, if you don't have enough progesterone and there's not enough GABA, your resilience is down, your emotional resilience. So progesterone is associated with resilience.
So for women, is our progesterone akin to testosterone for men?
I think we need to kind of stop thinking about testosterone as being a male hormone.
Yeah.
Because it's a female hormone as well. We all have testosterone. And
like, I think I told you, I've taken it twice.
Yeah.
Purely for my libido.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in the back of a cab, like, I was like, what is going on? What is wrong with me? It was insane. I was like, I would take this literally every week if I could. But even just from those 2 shots, I was like, I could tell my voice.
The change.
Yeah.
We think about it as a male hormone. We don't think about it as a female hormone, and yet it is so commonly deficient in women.
Yeah.
Oh God, she's going.
Serious? Yes. Excuse the armpit hair. Okay. Jeez. Even the stress, right? So hearing from you on the stress aspect.
Right, so stress is all about your adrenals, right? So you've got your adrenal glands, you've got your thyroid, and you've got your ovaries, right? And all of those 3 organs are controlled by the pituitary gland. So the pituitary goes, all right, cool. How's Kortney's stress today? How's her cortisol levels today, right? So how's her thyroid hormones today? How's her estrogen, progesterone, testosterone today? If everything's beautiful, all in balance, the pituitary goes, cool, I'm happy, I don't have to do anything. But if one of those things goes out of whack, so the pituitary focuses on your adrenals to say, right, game's on, let's go, let's make more cortisol. And it does that. It's like your brain then goes, I've got to focus on getting Kortney through this stressful period. I don't care what's happening with her thyroid right now. I don't care what's happening with her ovaries right now, because we've got to get her out of danger. So then we go, right, well, the thyroid's not doing what it should be doing, ovaries aren't doing what it should be doing because of the stress. So stress makes all of that worse. In perimenopause, we've already got a hormonal thing going on. You've already got a thyroid thing going on. And then there's stress.
Jeez.
So now, stress is life-saving, number 1. So if any of those 3 go out of whack, the brain is going to focus primarily on stress and getting you out of danger. Because if you don't, the woolly mammoth is going to eat you.
Right. I saw you did a little series on this about blood tests.
Yeah.
And you said your blood tests are as good as
Interpretation.
Yeah.
They're only as good as so they're only as good as A, what's been tested, firstly, B, if it's been tested on the right day, and C, how it's interpreted. And your hormones are doing this all the time, right? They're up and down all the time. You go to your GP, right? You've got your bag of symptoms with you, your hot flushes, your night sweats, your dry vaginas, and no libido, right?
Yeah.
And you sit down and say, right, what's going on? These are my symptoms. Like, I don't feel right. Does a blood test, FSH comes back normal. You're fine. You're not menopausal. Go and have this antidepressant.
Right. Right.
Yeah? It's in your head. Here's an antidepressant. But you might be perimenopausal, and on the day that you rocked up to the office, your hormones were fine. So it doesn't mean there's not a hormonal thing going on, and that it irritates me no end. Menopause, the definition of menopause is no period for 12 months. Right? If you've had no period for 12 months, you don't need to do a blood test. If you're doing a blood test and you've still got your period, you've got to be testing on the right day, and really, like, what are we testing for? What are we looking for?
She's a professional, it's fine. But
Yeah, right. That was it.
Yeah, like, it's What is, so that still means I'm not
You're not in menopause. If you've got any bleed, staining, or any show at all, you're not in menopause. Menopause is nothing for 12 months.
That's wild. We could be here all day about that. And anxiety, I never had anxiety. Getting anxious going to the fucking grocery store. I'm like, what? I used to go and like sell meth with a sawed-off shotgun and like a fifth of vodka between my legs and drive around. I wasn't anxious, and now I'm going to get a shopping cart and I'm freaking out.
Yeah, right. The paradox is both hormones are dropping away in perimenopause, right? But the progesterone drops first, leaving the estrogen still relatively dominant, and that's where we get a lot of those estrogen dominant type of symptoms. How well your body metabolizes the hormones. Are we clearing the estrogen properly? Right? And that's when the bowels come in and the microbiome comes in. And
first of all, it's like run from your general practitioner, or like you need to find
there are answers.
Yeah, because I know you see people on telehealth.
Yep.
So we'll start there. Highly recommend. We've got like so many different areas, and you're talking about the whole system.
Yeah.
Like clearing it out with your bowels and looking at all these things.
Right. So for you, with a history of thyroid antibodies, then that is major. That has to be taken into consideration. The sleep issues. A lot of women sit and say to me two things: I don't feel like myself, and is this how it's going to be forever? So I don't feel like myself, no, that's exactly right, because your hormones are changing. So you've got to, as your hormones are changing, your whole body has to recalibrate. It's got to get used to that drop in hormones, right?
Do you like lean on the word acceptance?
Right, this is a normal, natural transition.
I'm like, celebrate it.
Yeah, celebrate it. It's not going to go away. It's here to stay. The other thing though is that not all the symptoms, but a lot of the perimenopausal symptoms are transient. They're not forever. But if you understand that it's part of a normal process, it makes it easier.
Like you said, getting back into who you are and being centered, and just to have that identification with somebody else that's going through these things, or you know,
but to know that it's normal, that there's nothing wrong with you. Right? You don't need an antidepressant. I'm not mental. I'm not imagining the fogginess and the forgetfulness and
anxiety, all of it.
The anxiety can be horrendous. Plus the night sweats and hot flashes. So then there's the lack of sleep. And that lack of sleep makes your resilience drop.
I know I'm asking 10,000 questions, and then what's the difference between bioidentical and synthetic and pellets and all this shit? What do you normally do?
So again, remember, I'm not a GP that prescribes that, but the difference between them is that all of those hormones are synthetic in that they're made in a lab, right? But bioidentical hormones are more similar in structure to our natural hormones, whereas the really synthetic, the chemical shape is different. What we do herbally is use herbs to support, as much as we can, the continual production, your body's production of the hormones.
Like horny goat weed?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking
horny goat weed. Black cohosh. Black cohosh is fantastic.
Oh, I've heard a lot about that.
Hot flashes.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Hops is fantastic. And hops has a chemical in it that is similar to estrogen.
So in your practice, you look at nutrition, the whole body as a system, you know, what kind of stress is going on. And then of course, looking at herbs.
Yes, and what's the main symptom? Like, what's the main thing for you? Because we want to get rid of that thing that's the worst for you. Right?
I'd say it's depression. Like the anxiety has gotten a lot better, but I've also, like a couple of weeks ago, had a little bit of a spiritual experience and like reconnected with Jesus, even though I hate the church.
I saw that.
Yeah,
so you write about that.
It was like I felt immense peace, and you know, because I always want to like help other people, and so I feel, you know, like as far as where I'm at today, and the sleep getting better, and employing acceptance, as you said, and like changing the conversation around this being, you know, something to be revered, and it is a part of our life cycle, and it's not something to be fucking mocked. There are other avenues to fixing this.
But it's not to be fixed, it's to be supported and understood and talked about.
Right.
I look at depression and anxiety as two emotions on the same continuum, and they're emotions, right?
Yeah.
They're feelings. And most depression is situational. You're not happy with a particular situation, right? But then there is depression, obviously, that is hormonally driven.
Right.
Or neurotransmitter driven. And so St. John's wort is fantastic because it does both emotions. And so we don't want you swinging between anxiety and depression. We want you just here, right in the middle. And that's what something like St. John's wort can do. And then the black cohosh is fantastic for the hot flushes and night sweats. Hot flushes, night sweats is more sage, or you can either have red sage or sage. And then hops, as I said before, hops is fantastic for sleep. When you first reached out to me, I went, hops, she needs hops.
Yeah.
Right off, straight away.
Yeah.
I was like, that's gonna help.
And with the hot flashes, like I get overly hot and then it goes away relatively quick.
Yeah.
And that hasn't progressed too much in the last couple of years or gotten worse. But yeah, it's primarily the sleep, the depression, the anxiety has gotten better, and then libido.
Yeah, and there's herbs that we can try for that. You know, tribulus is fantastic for women with low libido. Shatavari is another one that's fantastic, which is also a beautiful hormone regulator. There's stuff we can try, and I think that's the thing. It's herbal medicine and using nutrients is not as quick as using bioidentical hormones, right? It's because the bioidentical hormones are putting the hormone into your body. What we're trying to do is just support that natural transition, make it a bit easier. We're not putting hormones into your body. So that's where it's a bit different. And sometimes it can take a little bit of tweaking, which is the same with bioidentical hormones anyway. People will also say to me, well, at what point, if you're trying herbs and nutrients, at what point do you go, no, that's not working, I'm going to go the bioidentical? Well, for me, it was like, well, I did both.
Right.
It wasn't a choice. It wasn't a thing of, well, I can't do that, I have to do that just because I'm a naturopath. It's like, mix it up.
Thing is, progesterone, is it, there are times where women don't absorb it.
The medical fraternity may not necessarily agree with this, but there is like almost a progesterone resilience. You know, your cells don't recognize the progesterone. There's a resistance to it.
What do you call that thing?
This is a 𝗣𝗥𝗢𝗘, and it's like electronic kinesiology.
Oh, that's
So
amazing.
this is the 𝗪𝗚. Most autoimmune thyroid conditions are set off from a virus.
Right.
It's a response to something, and most commonly, it's a response to a virus.
Is that the EBV?
Usually EBV.
Wow.
EBV, sometimes CMV, but usually EBV, right?
So funny how so many people like are indoctrinated to be like, oh well, so like the medical medium, if you heard that guy who talks about it a lot, right? Where it's like, oh, there's no medical, there's no science behind that. And I'm like, well, clearly this other shit isn't working. Like, keep an open mind, right?
We want the medical science. We want to have that,
Right.
But we want to keep an open mind to all the other stuff. Because I teach nutritional biochemistry, and my students go, right, so you're into all these biochemical pathways. I'm like, yeah, and then they go, and then you do woo, and it's like, yeah. Why wouldn't I?
Right. Now you teach nutrition. Is it true that most doctors spend like 4 hours studying nutrition? And what the fuck? You see the whole body, like all the things.
Yeah. All the biochemical pathways. Why we don't just bring it all together.
Right.
Like, it doesn't make sense to me to separate this out and that out. With perimenopause, you're susceptible to thyroid issues, you're susceptible to your gut microbiome going out of whack.
Maybe you could tell our viewers too, like our gut is our second brain.
That's right. Gut is our second brain. Those 3 ways that our gut is our second brain. So from tissue, when we're an embryo, the tissue that becomes our brain and the tissue that becomes our gut is basically the same tissue.
Because you're also a fertility doctor too, right?
Yeah, naturopath. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So doctor of Chinese medicine and acupuncture.
Got
it. So that's one connection. And then we have the vagal nerve. And most of our nerves basically go from the central nervous system out to the tissue, like that way, or from the tissue into the central nervous system. Right? So they go one way. The vagal nerve goes both ways. It goes from your brain or from the central nervous system to your gut, and then from your gut to your brain. So it's literally the connection between your brain and your gut.
Right.
What's happening here then affects your brain.
Yeah.
And then the third way is, and I've seen figures variable on this, right? So I've seen anywhere between 50 to 90%, different statistics. Somewhere between 50 to 90% of our serotonin is in our gut, not our brain. So then that means if your gut's out of whack, that affects your serotonin, which affects the serotonin in your brain.
Right.
We hit perimenopause, our hormones are all over the place, we can't concentrate, we can't focus, and it may make a pre-existing ADHD, pre-existing undiagnosed ADHD worse, or is it our hormones?
Right, or is it presenting as? Yeah.
It's our hormones are presenting as that.
Yeah.
So, and some of my patients will, when they get a diagnosis, my female patients that get a diagnosis of ADHD go, yep, cool, I completely resonate with that.
Yeah.
Others do sit there going, really?
Yeah.
Like, is it? And I think that your hormones are then just making it all a bazillion times worse.
Hormones are so fucking complicated.
So complicated.
And we're just like telling kids, like, yeah, here, take some puberty blockers or take some of this, you'll be
Go on the
fine.
pill.
Yeah.
But the pill changes the shape of your brain. There's research that's just come out about that. The hormones change the shape of your brain.
Is it true? I read that like urine from women on the pill gets into the water supply. That's crazy.
So then you get hormones into water supply. From makeup and perfumes and body washes and shampoos and conditioners, everything we use on a daily basis to make ourselves
Yep.
whatever, look fantastic, look and smell fantastic, 168 different chemicals
That's insane.
a day.
Are you gonna wave that thing around me and fix me?
Do you want me to wave that thing around you and fix you? Do you want me to see what comes up?
Yeah! Oh, this is great.
All right. Not bad. So this is again, it's the woo. This is like
Yeah.
electronic version of kinesiology.
Yeah.
Right? So we're in an electric circuit, right? And people will go, what the fuck is that?
I love it.
Right? So what we're listening for is the tone. And hear how the tone changes.
What?
Hear the difference? Right?
What happened?
Right. So what I was just checking, you know, we've got our chronological age, you know, how old you are, yeah? Then we have our bio age, how old you feel.
Yeah.
Right.
Was that the second part?
That was the second, yeah.
Oh
So
my
how old do you
gosh.
feel?
Hella old.
If you put a number on it, just in terms of your energy, you know, from lack of sleep, blah, 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 blah.
65.
Right. So it was 64.
Wow.
So the way we do it is we go, all right, what's the number? What's the base number? The base number was 16 and we multiply it by 4 and it's 64.
What?
So there you go. So your vitality, your spark, like where is it? Where's it gone?
God,
you know.
tore off with my ACL.
All right, stomach. What's going on in the stomach? Stomach is up here.
I've been doing keto for like 2 months.
Right. Lungs. Okay, lungs. What's happening here? Sadness, feeling alone. What's happening?
I'm vaping.
Right. Okay.
I've been doing it for 3 months, and because I used to smoke when I was a meth addict.
Okay.
And
What came up then is your lung meridian. We address what is happening physically, but also the emotional side of that.
Yeah.
So the emotions with your lungs is sadness, grief, and feeling alone. The active lung time is between 3 and 5 in the morning. Is that when you wake?
I did wake up at 5 this morning, went to
Yeah.
bed at 1.
Yeah.
So
So 1 to 3 is liver,
yeah.
3 to 5 is lung. The liver emotion is often, you know, being a bit pissed off,
Yeah.
pretty angry. The lungs is sadness, grief. Bladder. All right. Brr, what's going on with your
I
bladder?
have to pee all the time.
Right. So bladder is also, and I say this word intentionally, it's about being pissed off. Liver's anger, but bladder's pissed off.
I'm pissed
What
off
comes?
at a lot of stuff.
Right. What?
Like this bullshit COVID psyop, the New World Order. I really feel like they're trying to control everything, every aspect of our life. It pisses me off for so many reasons.
Yeah, sinus.
Yeah, often my nose runs, but I think that's from vaping, but I've always had sinus problems.
There's high level emotion going on. like you can't switch off your brain. You can't stop.
She's like just read my whole life.
Your head is just, it doesn't
Never
stop. Yeah.
Been intentionally attempting to do my best to meditate. I've been attempting for like 13 years. It's consistency I lack.
Okay. Spiritual connection to yourself is just not there. It's wavering, right? You got to bring back that core thing that makes you you. You've got all of this other amazing stuff going on, right? And it's right out there and it's fantastic and it's fabulous. But where's you?
Yeah.
That core heart.
Well, ladies, hope you got all that. I'll put some links in here so you can reach out and have a consult with Dr. Miranda, because again, this is a time to be celebrated.
Absolutely.
Employ acceptance and know that you aren't alone or crazy or hysterical.
Or hysterical.
You need a hysterectomy to get rid of the hystericalness.
Hysterical.
Yeah.
The hysteria.
The hysteria. No, love your titties. All the things.
All the things.
Okay. So thank you so much for sharing this information with us, and I hope it helps more women not to feel like they're crazy.
Not us.